The recent ceasefire agreement, brokered after intense international pressure and weeks of devastating violence, offers a fragile hope for peace in the Gaza Strip.
Hamas, the militant group controlling Gaza, declared victory, claiming to have achieved its objectives against Israel.
The UN Security Council, in a rare moment of unity, passed a resolution demanding an immediate cessation of hostilities. This resolution, while light on details, represents a crucial step towards ending the bloodshed and addressing the underlying issues fueling the conflict.
Israel, facing intense international criticism for its military operation, agreed to the ceasefire but remains wary of Hamas's intentions. The Israeli government insists that it took necessary action to defend its citizens from rocket attacks, but the disproportionate use of force has raised serious concerns about potential war crimes.
However, the cost of this victory has been immense, with hundreds of civilian casualties and widespread destruction in the densely populated enclave. The coming days and weeks will be critical in determining whether this ceasefire holds and paves the way for meaningful peace negotiations. The international community must seize this opportunity to address the root causes of the conflict, including the dire humanitarian situation in Gaza and the unresolved political status of the Palestinian territories. The international community, while united in calling for a ceasefire, remains deeply divided on the underlying issues of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
The United States, Israel's closest ally, reiterated its unwavering support for Israel's right to defend itself, but expressed concern about civilian casualties.
European nations, while condemning Hamas's rocket attacks, were critical of Israel's military response, urging restraint and proportionality.
The International Criminal Court's announcement to investigate potential war crimes committed by both sides further fueled tensions. Arab states, grappling with their own internal challenges, issued condemnations of Israel's actions, but stopped short of concrete action.
The Arab League, often divided on key issues, struggled to find a unified response, highlighting the complex geopolitical landscape of the region.
The ceasefire agreement, while a positive development, has exposed the deep divisions within the international community. Bridging these divides and finding common ground will be essential for any future peace process to succeed. The Biden administration faces a delicate balancing act in the aftermath of the Gaza ceasefire.
On one hand, the U.S. remains committed to its long-standing alliance with Israel and its right to defend itself. On the other hand, the Biden administration has pledged to prioritize human rights and diplomacy, seeking a more balanced approach to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
President Biden spoke with both Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and Palestinian Authority President Abbas, urging both sides to de-escalate tensions and work towards a lasting peace. However, the lack of direct communication between Israeli and Palestinian leaders highlights the deep mistrust and animosity hindering progress.
The U.S. has pledged significant financial aid for Gaza's reconstruction efforts, but delivering this aid effectively will require navigating the complex political realities on the ground. The involvement of Hamas, designated as a terrorist organization by the U.S., further complicates matters.
Washington's ability to act as an honest broker and facilitate meaningful dialogue between the Israelis and Palestinians will be crucial in determining whether this ceasefire leads to a lasting peace or simply a temporary lull in the fighting. Beyond the political maneuvering and diplomatic efforts, it's crucial to remember the human cost of this conflict. In Gaza, a densely populated strip of land with limited resources, the recent violence has exacerbated an already dire humanitarian crisis. Hundreds of thousands of people were displaced from their homes, seeking refuge in overcrowded UN shelters. Hospitals, already struggling to cope with the COVID-19 pandemic, were overwhelmed with casualties, facing shortages of essential medical supplies. The destruction of infrastructure, including power plants and water treatment facilities, further compounded the suffering of innocent civilians. In Israel, rocket fire from Gaza instilled fear and uncertainty, disrupting daily life and forcing people to seek shelter. While the Iron Dome defense system intercepted many rockets, the psychological toll on citizens living under constant threat remains significant. This latest chapter in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict serves as a stark reminder that behind the headlines and political rhetoric lie the stories of ordinary people whose lives have been shattered by violence and displacement. The ceasefire agreement, while offering a glimmer of hope, also evokes a sense of déjà vu. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has a long and tragic history of failed peace initiatives, broken ceasefires, and renewed cycles of violence. The Oslo Accords, once hailed as a breakthrough, ultimately failed to deliver a lasting solution. Numerous attempts at reconciliation, mediated by international actors, have faltered due to deep mistrust, political maneuvering, and a reluctance to compromise on core issues. The two-state solution, once seen as the only viable path to peace, seems increasingly elusive.
The current situation raises questions about whether this time can be different. Are there any new factors or dynamics that could break the cycle of violence and create a conducive environment for meaningful peace negotiations? Addressing the underlying issues, including the status of Jerusalem, the right of return for Palestinian refugees, and the expansion of Israeli settlements, will be essential for any lasting peace agreement. However, achieving a just and sustainable solution will require immense political will and a willingness to make difficult compromises on both sides.